Hello and welcome to Aliens Revealed Live. I'm your host Dean Caparella here on the Paranormal UK radio network. From alien abductions to monster-infested ranches to men in black, near-death experiences, close encounter experiences and more, we speak to some of the most amazing people on the planet, ready and willing to share their chilling stories with you. And they all come from the Aliens Revealed Live files here on the Paranormal UK radio network. Well, contact with extraterrestrials is never by accident, according to Sev Tok. Tok has been a virtual lifelong experiencer, and her story is one of the more amazing among people who have had contact with extraterrestrials. And it's an all too familiar story as well among those who have chosen to come forward and talk about their experiences. For Sev Tok, the contact began as a young girl. There was plenty of confusion to go along with it. The denial stage followed, and it wasn't until recently, in the past decade, that she decided to explore her options about telling her story. She found expert guidance in the shape of Kathleen Marden, the niece of Betty and Barney Hill. And today she shares her story in the hope that others will show the same courage and come forward. Tok says to take that first step, even if it's behind closed doors, to talk to someone without going public is a major breakthrough. Most experiencers just want validation that what they went through or are experiencing is real. Tok resisted the urge to come out and talk to someone about what she was going through. It just didn't make sense to her at the time. But all this changed on September 25th, 2017, when she discovered two marks on her body in the shape of the letter X. And after several days of trying to make sense of it all, she says it finally made her cross that imaginary line in the sand and make the decision to talk to someone about what was happening to her. And Sev Tok is joining us now. Hi, Sev.
Hi, Dean. Well, it's a pleasure to be with you and your viewers and your listeners. Thank you so much.
Well, it's good to have you here too. So what can you remember about that first ET contact?
My first ET contact. My first memory is from the age 10, and it continued for a couple of years until 12. And there was a being that would come visit me in a spaceship, and he visited me so many times that I've lost count. And I would be outside and see the ship, and it would come, and each time it came from a different direction, and it would hover over me, and I'd be looking at the bottom of this spaceship, and it would land, and then these stairs would come out, and then this being would come down. And I was so happy to see this being. It was like seeing a brother. And he looked human. His ears were just slightly different. They were a little bit more oblong, and he had dark hair, brown or black, and he also had dark clothes. I don't know if it was two pieces or one piece. And he would come just to check up on me, make sure I'm okay. And after each visit, I would then be plopped into my 3D 5th grade reality in my room. My eyes would just pop open like this. And I'm like, what am I doing here in this room? Like, I don't belong here. I belong with that being in that spaceship. And so, well, I have to get dressed and go to 5th grade now. And I didn't tell anybody. I could have told my parents because they were very open and they were believers, but I just never told anybody. Decades later, I started sharing this story. And what was very interesting about this experience was his last visit. His last visit, I was with a group of kids, and I had never been with a group of kids before. It was always just the two of us. And there were these children standing next to me. I didn't look into any of their faces, but together we were watching this spaceship just fly off into the distance, knowing that we weren't going to see him again. And there was sadness. And I knew, oh, it's time for me to do my work. I have to do what I have to do. And that was that.
Yeah. You said that you felt like he was a brother. So do you feel like you've met him before, maybe in another existence?
Yes. in another existence, if you want to call it another life, a past life, since there is no past or future, everything's happening at the present. So actually all of our past lives are our present lives, because we're having all kinds of different consciousnesses and all kinds of different realities at the same time. And yes, absolutely, I do have a tie to that being and to that group of beings.
What kind of things did he talk to you about?
I don't remember. I don't remember. I just know it was a checking up on me. And it was also just to make sure I was okay. It was really important that I was okay.
Okay. Now, what about as an adult? I mean, what kind of information did they relay back to you?
Well, as an adult, I've had many encounters. I think so far I've met 6 or 7 different types of beings. And they've given me a lot of information. The Greys have also given me a lot of information, and it was my contact with the Greys, as you had mentioned, in September 2017, which made me come out. That was a pivotal experience in my life because I couldn't hide it anymore. I'd been hiding my ET contact for decades. And I work with experiencers. I encourage experiencers to contact me through my website and share their story with me in privacy. And I help them understand why it happened. These things just don't happen by accident. There's a reason why you see a UFO. There's a reason why you come in contact. And it's all for beneficial reasons. It's all to help you individually and to help us all collectively. It's to help mankind.
Okay. Now, there are 4 points that I was reading. You made some notes, and there's a hybridization program, DNA activation, our role in the galactic neighborhood, and our possible fate. Now, are they some of the things that they talk to you about?
Yes. The Greys gave me information about the hybridization program, DNA information, the galactic neighborhood, and our possible fate. And I've also been in contact with what I call the blue beings, and the blue beings have also given me information about DNA activation. The first time I came in contact with the Greys that I can remember was in 2012. And they showed me a baby in a tube. I actually drew a picture of it. I have pictures of these in my book. And this baby, I'm going to show you right here, this baby in a tube, yeah. Mm-hmm. And then standing behind me were 3 Greys. And when I turned to look at these 3 Greys, they told me telepathically that I can take my time, that they're not going to rush me, and that everything's okay. I can stay there and look at that baby as long as I want. I did not know why I was looking at that baby that had the bluest eyes I've ever seen in my life. Didn't make any sense to me. And then I popped back into my reality, and I just held on to that for a long time until I had an incident in Roswell in November 2016. And once again, I met with the Greys in Roswell. There's a little bit of story leading up to that too. And they gave me information about the hybridization program. And they told me, they reminded me of what the baby in the tube that they showed me. And they told me that there's several hybridization programs. So the one that they were talking to me about had to do with the Greys and the humans. And the Greys are looking for the DNA, if you could call it that, of sympathy and empathy, because that has been bred out of their species. Mm-hmm. And you have to have that in order to continue. So they're like splicing that into the hybrids to make sure they're very loving, very empathetic, and very sympathetic. So these embryos and these babies, there's billions of them because there's millions of people involved in the hybridization program. Many don't even know it because a lot of ET contact happens in an interdimensional, multidimensional fashion. And our brain has a hard time understanding it. So our brain will tell us that was a fantasy or that was a dream, but they're real events. And this is why a lot of people don't even realizing they're having ET contact, because they're allowing their brain to hijack their
Right.
experience.
Right. I'm interested to hear about our role in the galactic neighborhood. I mean, do we even have a role?
Yes, everyone has a role. And our role is basically to love. We all came here with a shared purpose to love as much as possible, and that begins with ourselves. And that's where a lot of us aren't really very successful. And our role is to spread this love and to be loving and to just exist in that energetic frequency of love. That's the role that we all have. It is completely up to us whether we annihilate ourselves or annihilate this planet. It's not predestined, but it is definitely a possible fate. And so we are being watched very heavily to see what we do, because just like human beings have energy, and this table has energy, the planet has energy. And so the energy of the planet radiates out through the cosmos, through the galactic system, and it affects the entire galactic system. Our energy does. So we're being watched and guided and helped to try and transform us to a higher frequency existence, which means living more in a state of love than fear.
Right. Before I ask my next question, that's interesting you talk about that, because there was a man who walked this earth a couple of thousand years ago that preached the same thing. And I'm not sure of your spiritual beliefs, but do you think there's some connection there?
With Jesus and the ETs?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, very much so. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
First of all, what's an ET? An extraterrestrial, and that could be any kind of being. And it's unlimited how many ETs there are. It's unlimited how many different shapes and forms that consciousness can take. And so I do believe that he was channeling and he was in contact. What was he in contact with? Who was he in contact with? Well, I do believe that he was channeling source, the truth, sacred geometry, God, whatever you want to call it. There was some kind of channeling there, and also a heightened level of communication through the dimensions.
Right. The last of those 4 points that I wanted to ask you about is, I'm almost loath to ask you, our possible fate. I mean, is it good or is it bad?
It's both. It's up to us. It could be horribly wretched, or it could be beautiful. And this is what we're all experiencing right now in this time of COVID. We're being shown in a very clear way a possible beneficial way of existing. And it's being made very clear to us. We can see the benefits of not having to travel to work every single day. We can see the benefits of having more time off. We can see the benefits of being with our families. It's endless, all the benefits that are happening right now through this bizarre crisis. And we're getting a picture of, life can be a little slower and a lot more fulfilling. So what are we going to do? Some of us are going to make that transition. Some of us are not going to make that transition. I personally believe that there are going to be several who have had a huge aha moment right now and are making the changes to have a much more fulfilling life once this whole social distancing thing is over. We are in the transformation of creating a beneficial, happy fate.
Yeah. We are a very warlike and a combative race. If we were on the verge of destroying ourselves, do you get the impression that the ETs would just let it happen and start all over again?
I have been told by a few of the beings that I have come in contact with that they do not interfere. They do not interfere. With that said, I have heard others say that they will interfere in case of some kind of nuclear disaster that would prevent that. We've seen pictures of the UFOs around nuclear sites and things like that. It is possible that they might deflect something like that. But what I was told is ultimately only human beings can determine the fate of human beings.
Okay. For our audience, thinking about ET contact, how does it usually happen?
Several ways. It can happen in 3D, or it can happen in a multidimensional way through channeling and through meditating. In fact, I have a 3-part series on my YouTube channel, Alien Spirit TV. It's a brand new 3-part series on how to channel and how to meet otherworldly beings, how to connect with otherworldly beings. And I have heard from many people who've done the guided meditations that I include in these videos, guided meditations where you hear my voice guiding you to connect with another being, whether it's an angel or an ET. It's just another worldly being. They're all ETs. And so it can be done that way. And many people have communicated with ETs watching these videos. And these communications have been really pivotal for them, because it started to connect the dots of what's been going on their whole entire life. I had one person actually draw a picture of the ET that she saw during this channeled meditation in my video, and it answered to her what had been happening to her since childhood and started to put all the pieces together. And that's very rewarding. As far as a 3D event, that can happen any way. We've all heard the stories about someone hiking in the woods or camping in the woods, driving down a deserted road, all those kind of scenarios. Although the vast majority of ET contact is not in 3D, it's through the dimensions. It's multidimensional.
Okay. I used to think not long ago that people having contact experience, maybe numbered in the hundreds, maybe low thousands. And Kathleen Marden opened my eyes to the actual numbers of people having experiences, and she actually talked 7 figures. That's amazing.
I think it's millions, because of the interdimensional reality to it. So 3D contact might be thousands, but once we get into the reality of the multidimensional contact, it's millions.
Right. So you say a lot of people just aren't aware of it?
Correct. They're not aware of it. They don't believe it. And many people aren't even aware of themselves and their energy, and how your energy just keeps going into infinity. And your energy has information in it, and it has frequency, it has sound, and it has light in it. And that you're having more than one experience. It's not just this. Like, as I'm talking to you, as you're talking to me right now, both of us are also talking with other beings in the other dimensions right now. And through meditation and through awareness, we can plug into those aspects. We can plug into the other parts of ourselves that are having these communications. The best way to do that is through meditation. And also, dreams are not, there's many different kinds of dreams, but there's also dreams that are real events where you're traveling and you're in communication with other beings.
Okay, so I guess that's the safe way to make contact. Is there still a slight hint of danger for people doing it?
Well, I believe you are in total control of your experience. For most of my life, I feared the grays. I thought they were evil. I thought they were bad. I thought they were picking on me, and I thought they were victimizing me. But the reason for that was because of my own personal filter. For most of my life, I was a victim, and I played the victim role beautifully. I've been married twice, and I was in abusive situations. And there've also been other situations where I also played the victim. So my lens, the eyeglasses that I was wearing just to look at life was, everyone's picking on me, everyone is hurting me, oh my gosh, I'm the victim all the time. So when I had these interactions with the Greys, that's my same perception. They're picking on me, they're hurting me, this is not for my benefit. Once I started the deep introspection of looking inside of myself, I had to know, why did I pick two abusive people? Why? It's something in me. I can't blame them. It's not their fault. It is within me that I did that. And then I choose to wear the lens of a victim. Well, I have to take those glasses off. Once I did that, that's through deep introspection. Then I started to see that my contact with the Greys was all for my benefit. They're all very kind. It was to help me. And so the danger comes in your own personal perception. How do you view yourself? How do you view the world? How do you view other people? You are you no matter where you go. If you think that you're a victim and you come in contact with an ET, you might do the same thing that I did. You might think that they're being mean to you, they're picking on you, this is not for your benefit. But if you don't view the world like that, then your ET contact can be very, very beautiful and supportive and nurturing. And so I ask everyone to really look inside and try and figure out, what is my perspective and what is my viewpoint on life and myself? Because that affects every single experience that you have, whether it's on Earth or off Earth.
Yeah. So I guess you also have to be careful about the way you talk about yourself.
Oh, yes. You mean using positive words instead of negative words?
You talk about our energy, going out and it keeps going to infinity. But I guess when you speak, the same thing happens.
Absolutely. Energy comes out of our mouths, and there's energies in letters, and there's energies in sounds. There's everything. And so it's very important to do your best to speak high frequency words, to speak high frequency letters, to eat high frequency food, to have high frequency thoughts, and to exude a high frequency. The higher the frequency you exude, you're going to align with high frequency beings as well. Those beings being humans and also otherworldly beings.
Okay. So we talk about a lot of ET races. Is there one particular ET who keeps showing up, who seems to be there more times than others? Like one particular race?
Right now, in my life, yes. There is a group of ETs that I've come in contact with several times. The first time I came in contact with a version of them was actually just last March. And when I say a version of them, I call these beings the blues, because when they are in their mature form, there are different shades of blues, and you can't really even draw them because they're just light. And when you look at them, they're just this constant moving kaleidoscope of light, and they're gorgeous. It's blue light and silver light, and then right here every now and then would be this flash of spring green. That is the mature version of that kind of being. I was also in contact with the other versions. So when they're first born, they come out as these four-legged beings that look like white dogs. And on my YouTube channel, I have the video about, I call it my white dog encounter. And then as they mature, then they turn into these 3 or 4 foot tall, white luminescent beings. And then they turn into these taller blue beings. And these taller blue beings have given me information about DNA activation, that I have started a series on my YouTube channel about how to activate your DNA and raise your frequency. And they also gave me information about Tesla and Disney and Tchaikovsky.
Wow.
Yeah, they told me that all three of those men were channelers. They were in contact with different groups of ETs, in particular who I call the blues. And the blues are very loving. And Disney and Tesla actually met. And when you listen to Tchaikovsky music, which is my favorite composer ever since I was a little girl. So is Disney. Of course, we all love Disney, and everyone loves Tesla too, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you listen to Tchaikovsky music, it activates packets of DNA inside of you. So it helps you fulfill your purpose. It's a very high frequency music with the intent of raising your frequency and activating your DNA. So it's not a coincidence that one of Disney's most famous movies, Fantasia, is Tchaikovsky music.
Okay. I'll keep that in mind. So less rock, more classic.
Yes, and it's not just Tchaikovsky, it's others too.
Yeah.
But music plays a big role in affecting our frequency.
I spoke with Josephine Smith about hybridization, and she spoke about the blue beings, and she called them, knows them as the Arcturians. Is that the same? Is that the same with you?
I have been told that the blue beings that I'm talking to are known as the Arcturians. Mm-hmm. I do believe there's different types of Arcturians. They look a little different. There's various types. But I agree with Josephine. Mm-hmm.
And I have to ask this, so through your experiences, have you come across any bad ETs with bad intentions?
Okay. So once again, here we go with our own personal frequency, because if we have a lower personal frequency, we're going to align with lower frequency beings. And those interactions we call scary or bad. And even though you have a high frequency and you're aligning with high frequency beings and people, there's still these lower vibratory people and beings that can still kind of come in and just poke at you just out of curiosity. In December, I had a friend come stay with me. And so she brought with her her beings, you know, wherever we go, we have our beings. And her first night there, I woke up in my bedroom in the middle of the night, and standing next to my bed was a man in black.
Wow.
Just like we expect them to look. It was a black shadow. It was tall. It had the hat, standing beside my bed. And it had a very, very low frequency to it, but a strong frequency to it. It felt like it was pulling me into its vortex. And I said to it, "You can't be here, you have to go." Well, it put up a fight, and we did have what I call an energetic battle. And I stood my ground, because I know that I'm in control, it's not in control. So as long as I exerted control, and importantly, as long as I didn't flip into fear, because that is what these low vibratory beings feed off of, fear. If you exude fear, that's their food. So I made it clear, I am not afraid, and I'm in control, and you have to go. After this little battle that we had, it left. So if this is one thing that I say over and over and over again when I help people channel, when I help people make contact with other beings. You are in control. Do not exert fear.
Okay. I'm just thinking of I've done several stories about the men in black, and their purpose seems to be to silence people. But do you think that people are thinking along those low frequencies when they show up in their lives?
Are men in black showing up in the lives of people who are involved in low frequency pursuits?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Well, I guess even people that see something perhaps that higher powers don't want them to see, and then the next thing they know, the men in black show up and say, "Listen, you didn't see that." I mean, is that the kind of thing that they would attract?
So you're talking about a 3D men in black as opposed to an astral men in black.
So there's a difference.
Because there's both kinds. And so the astral men in black really do the most harm, which is what I saw, the astral men in black. And I do believe that this Men in Black was attached to my friend, because my friend had just newly started getting into all these YouTube videos about the deep state and about the cabal and about the reptilians, and it's negativity. Yes, there's negativity in this world, and yes, we have to hear about it, but to completely throw yourself into that and listen to those videos all day long, it's very negative energy. And that being was with her, unfortunately, and you know, it's none of my business who has what kind of being.
Yeah. So why were you contacted? Do you ever think about that? And do people get contacted by accident?
No, contact is never by accident. Not even seeing a UFO in the sky, that is not an accident. There's reason these things are happening. Often it's to reawaken a memory that you have been having contact, and the ETs are now telling you it's time to remember. It is time to remember, because Earth is transitioning. It's in a transition. Are we going to be able to see it to the end? We don't know yet, but we have started this transition. And this transition includes the acceptance of ETs and other beings living in other dimensions, on other planets, and currently communicating with us. It's currently happening. That's part of the transformation that we have to accept in order for Earth to move into a higher frequency. It just has to be done. We're not going to get to a higher frequency without accepting that and knowing it. Oh, did I answer your question? What was your question?
No. No, I just asked about, you know, people that have experiences. Is it by accident? But no. Well,
No.
what about beings being able to change your life for the better? How would they change someone's life for the better?
So when you engage in communication with another worldly being that has a high frequency, you automatically have access to information from the higher perspective. Information from the higher perspective is very, very valuable, because what it does is it allows you to just kind of pull back a little bit and just to watch your life from this perspective. So what that does is it doesn't allow you to get all caught up in like the things that aren't important, the stresses in life, the things that really don't matter, that so many of us really do tend to get all caught up in, because many of us are just in this state of fear. So when you get guidance from a higher perspective, it makes you realize you don't have to be attached to all that. You're not attached to all that. You can just withdraw, and you can create your life from a platform of self-control and peace, not falling into this world of chaos and fear, and I don't have control, and other people are determining what's happening to my life. That is not a reality unless you deem it's your reality. You can have a reality of the exact opposite. And that is what information from these beings from a higher perspective help you discover. And that changes your life for the better.
So this is all about a spiritual awakening and
Yes.
Enlightenment.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, so in recent times, well, let's talk about the incident that that you decided to come out for with the Greys. What happened there? I mean, that must have been scary.
Very, very scary. It happened in September 2017, and I had my boyfriend back then. We're no longer together, but he and I moved here from Capitol Hill, Washington, D.C. And my second night here, I met with a Grey. And then it happened again 9 days later. So the first time it happened, I wasn't aware of it. I woke up in the morning, came down to the kitchen, and I started unpacking dishes. And then it felt like something bit my butt, and it hurt. So I yelled over to Patrick, I think something bit my butt. Will you look at it? And he goes, sure. So I come over to this couch over here, and I'm giggling to myself because I think it's funny because I'm about to bend over and pull my pants down. And that's exactly what I do. And there's silence. He's not saying anything. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I just had this feeling. Something was wrong. And I said, well, did a bug bite me? And he goes, yeah, there's a bite, but there's also a red X. A red X. And he took a picture of it. I have a picture here. So, yeah.
Wow.
So, yes. And what can make that? I mean, when I saw the picture of that, I was stunned. And I knew right away, intuitively, it was the Greys. And I'm like, they're messing with me. And I got mad. And I said to Patrick, we're just going to forget about this. I'm going to pretend like that X never even happened, which is what I'd been doing my whole life. Because I've had other marks on my body. I had a rectangle sliced out of my back. I've had scoops of skin missing. And each time I just blame it on the cat or blame it on a bug or blame it on something. And then 9 days later, I came to in my bedroom. And after each encounter, you come to in your home or wherever you are, and you're instantly plopped back into 3D reality. There's no grogginess, there's no sleepiness, there's no nothing. You're just dropped right back into your reality. So 9 days later in the morning, dropped right into my bedroom, my eyes pop open, and I have this gush of memory that I was on a bed, like a hospital bed, and I was lying on my side, on my right side. And I was in a room, and there was hardly any furniture in the room. And I couldn't move my arms, and I couldn't move my legs. I felt paralyzed. And I felt like there was something behind me. I could move my neck and my head. So I turned around, and right here, I made eye contact with a Gray who was standing right behind my back, doing something to my back. And I have a picture of the Gray too. So we just stared into each other's eyes for several seconds. And I describe it as looking into two pools of black oil.
Wow.
And this time it didn't say anything. The other times it was always telepathic communication. This time it said nothing. And so I turned back around and I was scared to death. And I also knew something that I had never known in any of my other encounters, and I knew I was on the moon. I was in a room on the moon. Come back to my 3D reality, get out of bed, and wait for Patrick to come downstairs. And he almost always wakes up first, but this time I got up first. And I'm waiting for him to come down. Finally comes downstairs. I tell him the story, and then I ask him the $1 million question. Will you look at my butt? And I'm scared to death that there's another X on there. Because if there's another X on there, what does that mean for me? And so he looked, and there was another X on the right cheek. The first X was on the left cheek. The second X was on the right cheek, directly across from each other. And I have a picture of my butt in the book with both X's. And when I saw that picture, Dean, it's so hard to describe because your reality flips. I felt like I didn't know what was real anymore. I didn't know the truth anymore. I didn't even know who I was anymore. I'm evidently doing something that I'm not even aware of. I'm meeting other beings and they're touching me. And I was so confused and so scared. And I started to cry. And my boyfriend says, how can I help you? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know how you can help me. And that's when I said, but I do need help. For the first time in my life, I admitted I needed help. And to make a long story short, I went to my computer one day because I had to send a picture of this X to somebody, but I didn't know who. And I heard in my head, MUFON. So I went on the MUFON site and I saw Kathleen Martin. And I told myself, she's the one, she's going to help me. So I sent her a picture of my ex and my little story. And she wrote right back. And she said, I'd love to talk to you. And we Skyped for an hour and a half. And that was a pivotal moment in my life. Kathy and I have since then have become friends. And I adore her. And she's really helped me so much to validate my lifelong experiences. She helped me realize that these are not fantasies, that these are real. And the realness of it was proven to me by these X's. That's what I needed. In order for me to believe, I needed an X on my tuchus. And from that experience, I didn't know what I was going to do after I talked to Kathy, because I told her, I said, Kathy, in my mind's eye, I see myself standing on stage talking. What am I supposed to do? She says, Sev, I can't help you. You have to figure out what you have to do. So several months later, I woke up one morning and I announced I'm writing a book. And I wrote the book in a couple months. You Have the Right to Talk to Aliens, which describes many of my ET contacts and my journey as an experiencer. And I encourage experiencers to come out to themselves first and then to come out to somebody. And if they don't have somebody to come out to, you can come out to me. It's very important that you face this reality in your life. This is part of your earthly journey, your ET contact. It's happening for a reason. The more you suppress it, the more you hide it, the less you're being your authentic self. And we all know that when you express your true self, your authentic self, that's when you're the most fulfilled, most peaceful, and life is very enjoyable. It's very important that we meet these blocks. And it was a huge block for me. It was scary for me to move through this block, but it's the best thing I have ever done. It is a part of my journey that I should not be embarrassed about. No experiencer should be embarrassed about this remarkable experience. It is incredible and worthy of your attention and respect.
Because you're not asking them to come out and go public like you have. It's basically just to talk to someone about it.
Yes, and that is what I offer. And I've heard from experiencers around the world. And every experiencer that I talk with, everyone's story is fascinating. And in everyone's story, there is a beautiful, positive message for that person. These ETs want to help. They're not here to hurt.
Did you ever find out why you got the 2X marks?
So as I said earlier, in order for me to admit that my lifelong experiences were real, I needed a sign. And for me, my sign was these 2 red X marks. Everyone has like their line in the sand of so much crap that they'll take. Some people have a really high line, some people have a lower line. And I had a really high line of all kinds of crap that I can take. And these 2 X's pushed me over that line. I'm like, oh, okay. Now I hear you. Now I understand. That's one thing. It pushed me to come out because I do believe I have agreed to live in this body and talk about this. This is my mission. Another thing is, why was it on my derriere? One, because it's just interesting and it makes a good story. It captures people's attention. The other reason is because Kundalini energy sits in that part of the body. And Kundalini energy, when it starts to rise through your body, it does incredible things for your body and for your mind and for your soul. One of the manifestations of Kundalini rising is the absolute need to be as true and as authentic as you can possibly be. And that is the path that I'm on. I want to be as real and true as possible. Those are the reasons that those X's were put there. There's also some other conjecture. I spoke with a gentleman yesterday in an interview who is a doctor, and he looked at my X's, he took out a ruler, he measured them, he was really interested in them, and his findings were very interesting to me. To him, he said it looked like there were biopsies of them taking my skin or my DNA.
That's what it looks like on your picture as well, like little holes.
Yeah. So to me, it looked like a laser burn, like a laser did it. So yeah. So he thinks that each one of those was like a little puncture, and some skin or some DNA was taken out of me. Although they've been doing that for a long time. They've been taking skin and DNA from me for a very long time.
Okay. Couple more questions. In an interview I did with Grant Cameron for the summit earlier this year, we spoke about the key to disclosure perhaps being the CE5 experiences. And he was very, very solid on that point.
Yes, Grant has a special place in my heart too, because he was one of the very first people that gave me the forum to tell my story. And Grant is very different in that he's beyond the nuts and bolts. Like the nuts and bolts don't matter anymore. He's moved on into the metaphysical or the multidimensional aspects of contact. And he does completely believe that we should be listening to the experiencers, not so much to the people who just talk about what admiral wrote what letter to what general in what year about what secret group. Like a lot of that doesn't give new information, doesn't explain what's going on anymore.
No, and that's what I said earlier about it seems now seeing a UFO is kind of like, that's old news now. I think people should actually be turning their attention to what's really happening behind the scenes.
I agree. You mean with the experience?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I would like to think it's moving in that direction. I don't know. I'm so grateful that since I wrote the book, it came out in August 2019, August 2018. Just 2 weeks after I wrote the book, I was invited to be a guest speaker at AlienCon in Baltimore. And that was a fantastic experience. It was the first time I came out, and I came out in Baltimore, where I lived for 20 years. And I've had lots of ET contact in Baltimore. And also, since the book came out, I've done about 50 interviews around the world. So there is interest in the experiencer's story. And I just hope that it snowballs and it keeps going and going and going. And part of my work is to help experiencers tell their stories so we can add more energy to the snowball that we created and just let it keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And then pretty soon, experiencers won't be embarrassed, and they can hold their head up high and say, yes, I have met another worldly being.
Right.
And I'm not crazy.
Yeah. Do you think we as a human race are actually ready for full disclosure? Have you had any, any message from ETs that you've come in contact with about full disclosure, or is this what full disclosure, or is this how disclosure is happening through our experiences?
So we are in disclosure, and some of us have had full disclosure. Some of us have had it, some of us have not. Do you mean by full disclosure a spacecraft landing on the White House
if
lawn?
that's the way it happens? But
well, as long as we are violent, that's not going to happen. They can very clearly see how we kill each other, how we abuse each other. We abuse children, we kill children. We abuse animals, we kill animals. We are not nice. And so why would another civilization want to come and land? Because it's very clear that human beings fear what they don't know. There will be a lot of violence. So that is something that we need to transform. Once again, the more we exhibit love, the more we love ourselves so that we can exhibit love, the higher our frequency, change the frequency of the earth, and then a landing will be inevitable because they won't be afraid.
Mm-hmm. Last question, and a lot of people probably don't know this, but you're actually a part of the Star Wars folklore. You've had a star system named after you in Star Wars. How did that happen?
There is a Sev Tok planet and star system in the Star Wars galactic star system. So many years ago, my best friend Cecilia was dating this guy who was a writer, and he got a job writing a short story for Star Wars. And he said to me, Sept Tok, I like your name. I'm going to name a planet after you. And I thought he was kidding. Well, the story came out, and there's the Sept Tok planet and star system, and it's even in Wikipedia.
Wow. How did that make you feel?
Great. It's a cute little story. I like telling the story. It's very appropriate for my work too. And yeah, so I look forward to one day there might be a Star Wars movie out there with the planet Sept Tok in it. So I asked him, we recently connected with, his name is Tom Bowling. I'm like, Tom, if they use my name in a movie, you know, and am I going to get anything? He goes, no, Sev, you're not going to get anything. So Disney bought Star Wars, and so everything's Disney now.
Well, it's not like Disney can't afford not to slip something your way. Anyway, Sev, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you today, and we'll keep in touch, Dean. And I'd like to follow your progress.
Well, Dean, I'd like to thank you for everything that you're doing. You plopped into this world. I was telling you earlier how I was looking through my Facebook feed, and all of a sudden there's Aliens Revealed Live, and I'm like, where did this come from? And you came in, and you're doing a great job. I've heard only really, really good things about you, and I'm very grateful for the work that you're doing, and I'm honored that you've included me.
I mean, I appreciate the kind sentiments. It was just something I thought I was being led to do, and here we are. And I'm absolutely enjoying it. I'm enjoying meeting the many different people that are part of this particular niche. Mm-hmm. Sev, thank you, and we'll be talking to you again soon.
Thank you, Dean. Thank you, everyone who watched and listened. I'm grateful.
Did you know that there is an Alliance for Extraterrestrial Diplomatic Contact? And they already have an established mission complete with a stated protocol. Plus, they have an established roadmap culminating in a bona fide embassy by 2030. The team behind it have adopted the law of attraction model of be, do, have. It simply states that before you can do and have, you have to be.
I believe that, yeah, some people might be skeptics, and that's okay. But we will, like I said, governments are starting to talk about it. That's something interesting. They might say, some of them, like the US might say, oh, it doesn't exist, or extraterrestrials, those things that we see in the sky, not necessarily UFOs or unidentified flying objects, but there may be a majority of these things flying around. Maybe they're not from outer space, but I believe that some of them are, because we can't explain some of them. A lot of it we can explain, but some of it, I mean, when you see flying saucers or an object going by and it disappears like that, and it changes, like it goes one way and then all of a sudden it changes sides, all of a sudden like this. I mean, and it's not explainable. The science now cannot explain why it's happening. So, yeah, I think we are influencing some way the governments.
Okay, so what would the embassy look like, and where would it be built, and who would fund it?
Okay, what it looks like here, I don't know if you can see it in the back here, or maybe you can show, that's the embassy. That's how it would look like. Well, it's being funded. We're a nonprofit organization, and it's being funded by the IRM, the International Raelian Movement. And What was your other question?
Well, where would it be built? Well, I mean, is there a
Okay.
location that you've picked?
Okay, we would like it to be built in Israel, but we don't know. Israel hasn't responded. I don't think so. But they haven't. So we decided to go and ask all governments. So we don't know yet where it's going to be built. We just hope it's going to be in Israel.
Yeah. Have you had any response from any of the governments that you've approached so far?
Some of them have responded, but I can't say any more than that for now.
It will be fascinating to see how this all plays out. I love their commitment here. We'll be following this closely, and that's coming up on the next episode of the Aliens Revealed Live Files. You won't want to miss it. And thanks for being with us. Don't forget to check out our site at arlhub.com. That's arlhub.com. And as always, keep looking upwards and take care.